Good morning, everybody. Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that collaboration in 2022 and 2021, we reached out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers around the world. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, a solution for someone's problem. And welcome, Ryan Knight. How are you?
Doing well, sir. Doing well. Always good to see you.
Yeah, right back at you, man.
For those that don't know who Ryan Knight is, I'm one of the co-founders of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. We work with entrepreneurs of African and Caribbean heritage, really to figure out what stage their business is in and help them to create a strategy to grow their companies exponentially. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I do run a company called Detailing Nights. So we provide mobile, waterless car cleaning. So we go to people's houses, their offices, clean their cars on the spot without using water, and our plant-based, eco-friendly cleaning supplies. And this past weekend, we were doing some more training with some.
Yes, the weather. I haven't had a chance. The weather's been inviting.
Absolutely, sprinkles of rain, but it's like it breaks the heat, so it's been good. I like it.
Nice. So, before we get to anything else, we have a Monday tradition. Does anyone know what the Monday tradition is? Well, if you don't know, the Monday tradition is that the Morning Vibe on Mondays is brought to you by the McMillan Group, providing mortgage solutions one client at a time since 1999, buying, refinancing, or investing. Call them in Canada, 905-813-4354, US 904-586-5636. So that's part of the Morning Vibe Monday tradition.
Yes, shout out to Ray and Stefan.
Yeah, and also we want to put out this here too. There's their phone numbers, Canada, US, toll free. Also website, themcmillangroupinc.com, and then email address, raycmcmillan@gmail.com. So let's just get some things warmed up here. We got some people already jumping in. Oh, Fitness IQ. Good morning, gentlemen and everyone. And also she says, Raymond and the McMillan Group. Well, Raymond isn't in the chat yet, but I'm sure he'll probably usually is in there. And Fitness IQ on her show on Saturday had a very interesting conversation with someone who works for CRA.
Okay.
It was cool because she had the person's face blocked out during the conversation. So it was quite a lively conversation.
Wow,
she
like the W5, man.
Yeah. So she's got power, all these things going on, but it was quite a spirited conversation. So some other things we want to chat, house cleaning as usual. Please like the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook and LinkedIn. Yes, we appreciate that. Also, join the Morning Vibe Discord group. So if you want to do that, email me at dr.vibe@the.drvibeshow.com. Yeah, I've had a few requests come in. I know that Mark Lewis is going to be saying he's going to be joined, so he sent me a request. So we would like to get the numbers up on that. And then also coming up on this Friday show, Perry Douglas, who has been a great friend of the Morning Vibe and the Dr. Vibe. He's going to be talking about his article on buyblacks.com called 5 Ways to Thrive in the New Economy. And Roger Dundas of buyblacks.com will be joining us. So we're going to have Four Noirs, called the Four Noir Conversation on Friday morning. So you know that Perry has a number of things that he always likes to share. So that is coming up this Friday. So let me just check a few of the messages coming through. Aldofina Wilson is saying greetings, everybody. All right. And Fitnet says power now popped down, feeling under the weather. Not a good time to not feeling good. Hope you're feeling better soon. So yeah, so we're waiting for Dr. Tachi. Hopefully she's going to be okay. But if not, we certainly always have content to fill in with. Ryan, any sort of things you're wanting to chat about that are on your mind this morning?
One thing that just popped into my head, I've been watching that show W5 for the longest of times. And you know, I just realized what W5 stood for. Do you know?
Who, what, where, when, why.
That's it. Yeah, the 5.
Who, what, where, when, why.
Why? I had no idea it stood
on.
For that.
The 5 W's.
I've been watching that show since time, and then they usually never say it. So
right, they don't.
One of their promos, they said like the 5 Y's. I was like, oh snap, that's what W5 is for.
What?
But anyway, that aside,
thank you for the pop quiz this morning. I was able to get it right on the first go.
We haven't even talked about Toronto's new mayor.
Well, we'll do it briefly. Our Dr. Tachi's in the green room.
Okay,
but let's talk about it briefly.
Olivia Child, usually when you lead the pack, she faltered before when she was leading in the polls. This time was able to, I guess, lock it in. And she seems like she's got to work, like meeting with a lot of city staff and putting some stuff in place. So curious, anybody's.
She's got 2 years to impress. Plus,
exactly.
I still have. God willing, we're still doing this in 2 years. My question is always: is John Tory going to run again?
That's a. So, do you think it's based on if she does well? Because if she falters, I could see him jumping back in to be like, okay, hey, I'm back. You know, I was able to sort out things. But if she's rocking and rolling, I don't think it would be a good move for him to come back in.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of polls said that he could have had a chance to win this time out. Like he resigned, but he could have won.
Yeah, but that would look so just stupid. Like, because you're gonna resign and then you're gonna jump back in. People are gonna be like, "Why did you even resign?" Like,
it's politics. It's politics, man.
Just stay back, man.
But I think again, North Americans on the whole, many have very short memories.
Right.
And it's interesting.
I was gonna say quickly to round out the field. So I believe Anna Bailau came in second.
And she had a good race. The pundits are saying Saunders is done.
With politics? Okay.
Yeah, they're saying he's done. Again, what's the next move for John Tory? What's the next move for Mitzi Hunter?
That I'm thinking she'll go back into provincial and possibly run for Liberal leadership because
of Ontario.
Yeah, you don't need to see.
Isn't Bonnie Crombie throwing her hat in the ring for that?
She definitely did. People think she's the strong front runner for it too.
Well, she has a chance. So they got a comment. Fitnance IQ Cam saying here, yeah, True almost forgot why he resigned. See, people have short memories.
That is valid,
right? People have short memories, so
he comes out with a strong apology. Definitely, I don't see that he can't run, but it would just be so weird. But weirder things have happened, especially in Toronto mayoral stuff.
Well, we're talking Polytricks, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
that's the thing. That's the thing.
So, out
Oh,
of the 102 candidates, is there anybody beyond the top 6 that you remember that stuck in your mind?
NO.
All right. Hey, valid.
I think it's interesting. What would have happened if there was another week in the campaign? Would Bilal catch her? Because her and Bilal only had a difference of about, it was less than 10 points. So I think it was about 6 or 7 points. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sylvia Warrington has a comment here. Nia Singh. Yes, Nia
Okay.
Singh was ranked. True. My question would, I always, and again, I never got privy to, I would have liked to ask each candidate, especially on the top 10, what's the real reason why you're running?
And that should be a mandatory like clip that they have on their website. Why are you running? So that that question is answered.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, for people who didn't watch it, last Friday's morning vibe of Wayne Harris. Woo!
Yes.
That would like I
That
think
could
it's one of the,
definitely use a repeat. That's a
yeah,
rewatch.
I'm gonna strongly recommend to people, if you didn't catch last Fridays, especially if you're melanated and melanated focused, not just Toronto based, but just worldwide. That was fire. Because again, we had a conversation topic, we never got to it.
Right.
And the content was still good. So you know what?
Yes.
Let's not delay any further. Let's bring up the guest of honor, because I'm beginning to think she's, if not one of the hardest working people in media, maybe the hardest working person in media these days. There's a whole backstory on that. You're not going to hear most of it, but she is the hardest working person. One of the hardest working people I know in media. Her name is the Dr. Tachi. How are you?
Oh, you know.
Okay.
um, First of
Good to
all, let
see
me
you.
apologize because I'm using my phone today. My computer did not start this morning,
Ooh.
and
Ouch.
so I was trying to find alternative. And usually the phone is a good alternative, but it will not turn into landscape for me. So this is not what I do. This whole portrait thing. So I apologize for that.
No, it's all right. Hey, what you, as our song, what you see is what you get.
Damn right.
Dr. Tachi, haven't
Yeah.
talked to you for a while.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's only been since yesterday.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And before that,
what was it? Saturday night?
Saturday, like talked to her on the
Right.
phone, and then she came on State of Things with Isha Jill and Lala, and as Ryan was saying, man, that show was fire
Yeah,
on
love
Saturday.
that conversation. Yes.
It was great. I always enjoy whenever I can be on anything Dr. Vibe adjacent. I'm there. I am
Love
there.
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
humble. Fitness IQ says morning to Dr.
Good
Tachi.
morning. Good morning, family.
And Fitness IQ, you say lies. What do you mean lies? I don't know what you're talking about, lies. I don't know what you mean by lies. So you're gonna have to, you just don't make a statement like that and not
Yes, we need
expound
context.
on it. Yeah, like in what context? Come on now.
Ah,
So oh, and Fitness IQ says yes, she had her popcorn. Yes, for Saturday's
Mm.
show.
ah.
Yes.
There's always a
So
popcorn moment on that show, though. I have to say.
yes, popcorn. And some people may say they need to have some adult beverages at times too on that show. So, okay, where do we want to start? Okay, let's start with updates on Indie Soup.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
let's do
yeah.
that. Yeah, so rolling along, we are going to launch soon. And for those of you who don't, I don't imagine anybody doesn't know in this realm, right, that what Indie Soup is. But in case you don't, it is an OTT and online content network, or also a production hub that is the heart of the independent content creator. We are really focused on indie content creation. Of course, anybody who wants to come, who we accept, is definitely welcome, but we are really very focused on independent content creation. So yeah, that is who we are. We have all sorts of great content, and it will fall in one of four areas: lifestyle, arts and entertainment, business, tech and education, and also global topics. So lots of things can fit underneath there. And again, we're rolling along. We are launching soon. We're definitely launching this summer, but we are looking to launch very soon. And it's going well. I'm excited. We've actually gotten four new creators on board.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, it just keeps rolling. And this is without even really fully saying go and apply at the website,
Mm.
so.
All right. Well, there you go.
Would
So
you say
people,
there's
go
any
ahead.
types of creators that you want to hear from that might be out there that the people can kind of tap them on the shoulder and say, "Hey, check this out"?
Yes. Thank you for asking that, Ryan Gala King. Uh, I I really would love to see some sports related content. Different
Yes.
Okay.
types of sports. So, and then in particular, motorsports. That would be great. People that are into
Ooh.
NASCAR and
Gotcha.
motorsports,
Oh,
esports. I would love to see as well.
okay.
So any type of sports, but I would love to see you know any sports in those realms, particularly done by people of color,
Hmm.
particularly done by people of color who are women. I would love that. So I'm open to
Okay.
whatever, but I would really love to see that, because
Okay.
I think there's a misconception about who watches sports, who is a sports head. That would be great. Also, definitely more music related shows. I would love to see that. More, we want to
Oh,
build music
Yeah,
related
yeah.
shows, definitely, whether it's actually musicians themselves playing, or
okay. You
DJs.
we need to talk. We need to talk
Okay.
because
Hmm.
um I've been working on that type of show with I'm gonna stop it. We'll talk offline because there's
Okay. Yes.
yeah, there's
First of all,
eh,
the answer is yes.
okay.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
because
Yeah.
we'll
Nice.
talk about something. We've got there's a pilot that I've worked on with a group of people. It hasn't
Mm.
gone anywhere, so you may now have provided that opportunity for it to happen. So
And
remind me of that
I will
Gotcha.
remind you,
when we chat offline. And
and that's exactly why this exists as well, because I've pitched donkey's amount of
Mm.
times with with shows that I've been involved with, like as a director, and it never goes anywhere when you are looking to pitch to the traditional linear networks. Media works with who they know and who they want to work with. If you're a newcomer, please don't think that it's going to be like, so many people come in with your hopes and dreams, and I'm not trying to dash them with cleavers, but I'm trying to dash them with cleavers and let you know that the way is, even with,
Mm.
we look at Issa Rae and the success that she had with Insecure, and now she's got another thing. I mean, she's got an 8-figure deal with which is now Max. It was HBO Max, now it's Max.
yeah,
So she's got an 8-figure deal. Uh, that did
Wow.
not
Yes.
happen because they came to her initially. She had the the adventures of an awkward black girl on YouTube for years
Mm.
before anybody. So she was already doing her stuff. So the point is that you really have to be the producer, the distributor, and let us help you if that's what you're looking to do, right?
and
Yeah.
as I said at the
Cool.
beginning of our conversation, it wouldn't take long. Ray McMillan is here, and he says, "Good
Yeah.
morning, everyone. The
Good
marriage of
day.
academic competencies and entrepreneurship is the way forward. Congratulations on your moves," in capital letters, Dr. Tachi.
Thank you so much. You know what? I think everyone needs several streams of income, but also streams of influence, right? It's also several streams of influence.
Ooh.
Uh, I knew back in the day, not to get into a long story, but I already knew in year 3 of me being a full time academic professor that was not what I was going to do full time forever, because
Right.
I already knew me. I was in dance companies when I was in the PhD program, 3 at the same time. So I know that I am a creative at heart. I'm also a scholar, don't get me wrong. But to sit there and let that be my bread and butter and then beg a university for, the little pittance, not my way. Let me make
Mm.
my own.
Okay, Fitness IQ says, love that, Dr. Tachi. All right.
Mm.
So I'll put it out there that one of my goals before the end of this month is Dr. Tachi and another scholar who I'm not going to name. We're working on having them come on the Dr. Vibe show and talk about the recent overturning of affirmative action in colleges and
Ooh.
universities in the
Yes,
United
yes.
States. Dr. Tachi, don't even say anymore, but
I'm not saying anything.
yeah, and I'm working on getting these 2 Black women powerhouses coming on the platform. So another reason why you should follow, because when they come on, I think I'm going to do one of these. I'm going to get out of my chair and just say, see you in an hour.
You're right. Right.
It's going to be good. It's going to be fire. So let's get to some media, tech, and pop culture. And you know what else I'm going to do? I'm actually going to, what are we going to do? We are going to go on Instagram Live, and we got the morning vibe on right now. And we're going to give you a slice. We got myself, Ryan, and Dr. Tachi talk about media, tech, and pop culture. And we're going to talk, first we're going to talk about is, what about Threads? What's Threads all about, Dr. Tachi?
Threads, this little thing that that popped up last week,
Uh-huh.
taking, giving everybody new hope and new dreams. And I always laugh when I see these things because I'm like, for the moment. Now, here's the thing. If you don't know what Threads is, I'm sure you've probably been living under some rock. If you have Instagram, you know Threads. Threads it is from Meta. It is connected to Instagram, although it is also a standalone app. Okay, so it is a standalone app, but it is connected to your Instagram. So you can sign in with your Instagram credentials, right? I think the goal is also to make Threads something that is available regardless if you have an account or not. I think that is the eventual goal, so that it kind of interweaves all these spaces together. I think that part of the thing with what many of these apps do, yeah, some of their API is open, but they don't really like you posting third party or doing things, because they want to keep you on their app. However,
Mhm.
that's not the reality. The reality is that the app space is littered or scattered with so many different apps amongst so many different users. As such, to say you only need to stay here is rubbish. It's not
Right.
going to happen. So I think that's a smart move by them. I think, I keep hearing from people, Meta, you finally got something right.
Really?
I,
Okay.
I I've heard that at least 10 times from people. And
Mm.
I contend that they're the master of none. But they love, people have been saying that, okay, you finally got something right. But let's look at it. And I brought this up on the state of things on Saturday, that number one, it's still Meta, that even though you put on a new squiggly threads costume, I still see the F peeking out from underneath it. You're still the same group.
Ah,
You have not
yes.
changed. Okay. So if people are thinking this is a new way, no, they have not changed. They have not changed. Number two, it is too early to determine whether or not this is going to be the quote Twitter killer. Now it seems as such, because number one, it's easy to get on. Number two, Elon Musk and Twitter are acting like orangutans. Therefore,
Yes.
yeah, of course, it seems like. So what's happening now, what it feels like, is not Twitter. This is not Twitter, so I'm going to get onto it. In fact, I saw an article. If you do a search for Twitter alternatives, you'll get things like this. You'll get Mastodon. You'll get, what is it called? The one that Jack Dorsey founded, formerly of Twitter.
Mm.
Blue,
I don't know.
blue something. It's
Oh, I
blue
haven't even seen
something.
that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. There are like about five that are out there that are Twitter quote competitors or Twitter alternatives. But the only ones that people really, and although Jack Dorsey raised 8 million so far in seed funding for this new app, and it continues to go up. I guess it was a Series A. It there's still there hasn't been anything that could compete with the breadth and depth of the Bluebird until now. But that's directly connected to the fact that it's already to connected to something you know. You already can ask all of your followers from Instagram to follow you here. So yes, it's going to grow quickly because there's a kind of a cheat, a workaround. Now that doesn't mean it's not good. I think it's a clean interface. It could be a fresh start and a fresh slate. Dr. Vibe, you and I both know
We know
about
that
this.
Dr. Tachi left us.
No,
So, okay, I think she's
like a blip.
there we
Am I
go.
gone?
You're back now.
Wow. Okay.
The Twitter's listening. They don't want you talking up. They don't want you boasting up threads.
Well, hear this, Twitter. I'm going to continue to talk. Okay.
Yes.
So this is
Because
something
Twitter,
that
they're
I'm
trying to
learning.
sue Meta about the whole, because they say that employees from Twitter have now come to Meta to build threads. So trying to, kind of dismantle that.
Well, as if Twitter didn't think that was going to happen. Come on,
Oh, you
now.
fired, like, if people got let go, they're gonna land somewhere.
But like before we go any further on IG, there are a few people watching. Well, Frequency Event Promotions, I think, is in the main room here, but also Chocolate Baby 73 says hello and also says good morning, Dr. Tachi. Denny.se7263. Denise says Barry Slaughter 70 says hello. And yeah, Denny.se7263. Good morning to you on the Instagram. We've got Dr. Tachi on. She's talking about media tech, pop culture, specifically right now talking about the new Threads app. Jamel Cruz, what is up from the Never Settle family based in Buffalo. So next time I'm in Buffalo, I'm going to check out your studio. Ray McMillan's on Instagram. Barry Slaughter 70's on Instagram. Okay, back in the main comments. Christopher Lawrence says, he goes, hi, Vibe, Tachi A Knight. And he says, Dr. Tachi wants to make it proper. Says, hi, Dr. Tachi. So, what did you want to add? Sorry about that, Dr. Tachi.
Wait,
Just want
you
to
said who's in Buffalo?
Jamel Cruz. He's a member of the Never Settle family. If I'm correct, Jamel, correct me if I'm wrong. I've been following you. You have a podcast studio in Buffalo.
Okay, so like I grew up in Buffalo, so this is wow, interesting. So
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, and yeah, Barry Slaughter says hello. Chocolate Baby says hello. So you know
Those
Barry
are
Slaughter?
CQ. These are CQ family.
Yes.
Club Quarantine. Yeah.
All right. So all right. So family who are watching on Instagram, you'll get a part of this conversation, but if you want, go over to the Dr. Vibe show on YouTube. You can watch the full thing or the repeat, and also would love you to subscribe to the channel. Dr. Tachi, back to you. Or Ryan.
Yeah. Or go ahead, Gala King. Were you going
right. I was gonna say quickly, Dr. Vibe, you need to point it at the computer because Dr. Tachi is waving to them. I'm not sure if she doesn't know.
Yeah, but look, I only have two hands.
I'm just saying.
There's an opportunity to grow a third, Dr. Vibe. You just refuse to do the work. Anyway.
Yes. Sorry, you can go ahead, Dr. Tachi.
Yeah, no. So that is basically the thing that we're looking at in terms of this being. If there's great. Oh, so we were talking about Mario Armstrong, and you know what the things that he's saying and the things that you should do. One thing that is interesting is he's saying that you want to create a different experience on Threads than what you do. And I completely agree. Why would you get someplace new and do the same thing you do everywhere else? Particularly for people who already follow you on Instagram. What need is there for me after the newness wears off to continue to engage with you on Threads if you're just going to rehash what's on Instagram, right? So not saying don't do that, but it is saying see what you can do in terms of creating conversations that are different, creating content that may be slightly different, but aligned with what you do. I think it was Adam Mosseri, who was the CEO of Instagram, said it's less about whether or not you are going to be using video or text or photos, and more about creating the conversations that you want to see. So if you think about it that way, that opens up a whole new realm of things that you could possibly post. If you're like, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to post. So think about it that way. Go ahead, Dr. Vibe. Sorry.
Yeah, just a few things. If you're watching part of this on Instagram, can you hear all of us okay? Can you hear myself? Can you hear Dr. Tachi? Can you hear Ryan? Just tell me in the comments. Yeah, that's why I do have an account on there, but I haven't posted anything yet because I'm considering my strategy and what Mario said about posting, like creating a whole new audience. So I'm taking some time to say what sort of content I'm going to post on there. I'm coming closer to a decision on what I'm going to post on there, but I'm going to keep quiet and just do it on there. So it's interesting about, so Adi Star says yes. Everyone's saying the audio is perfect on Instagram. All right, fantastic. So I'm still, people are starting to follow me. I haven't posted anything yet. Because I'm just looking at the flow. So Fitness IQ says, I was reluctant on using it. Sophia Jacob goes, anyone who hates or have been let go from Twitter will, of course, be over on Threads. They'll be the hardest working employees for Meta just to see Elon go down. Motivation, LOL.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. So I'll continue with that. So we were talking about, so Threads is one. Let me tell you some of the apps that are alternatives just in case. Threads is obviously the biggest one right now. Spill is the one that was founded by two former employees of Twitter who are Black. Okay, so that is another one that you can take a look at. They also, T2 is another one. I don't know a whole lot about that, but T2, created again by former Twitter employees. Blue Sky is what I was thinking. Like Blue Buffalo, Blue Ivy. It's Blue Sky. So Blue Sky.
No, okay. Don't talk about Blue Ivy. We got that all weekend here in Toronto. Okay, thank you.
Oh, why she was performing?
Was she?
You didn't know that Beyonce was in Toronto this weekend, Brian?
It's in Toronto. That's why there's such a buzz. I didn't know she was in Toronto.
But that's
she's on her $1 billion tour. I just know.
Yeah, well, Godspeed to people who can afford a ticket. Good for you.
Yes.
That's another conversation in itself. Yeah. So we'll leave it at that. Fitness IQ seems like I have to strategize. You always have to strategize when it comes to digital media. And then she goes, I heard about Spill. Yeah, I've heard about it. I haven't used it yet, but I'm certainly curious to see what goes on there. So back to you, Dr. Tachi.
Yeah, so Mastodon is the other one that I'm talking about. And it feels like a lot of journalists, once Twitter started acting orangutan-ish, started to go ahead and gravitate toward Mastodon. I don't know that it's really taken off the way they intend, but it's there. And then co-host is another one, and that was actually launched last year because there have been a lot. It's just coming to a head now because of Elon Musk and the misgivings at Twitter, but there have always been apps that have attempted to launch to compete, right, with all of the apps that are out now. True. So the thing about this though is that before, what has happened is that people are looking to compete with TikTok and other more media rich apps. This is the first time that we're really seeing a bunch of people getting into the space of microblogging, and that's really what this is, microblogging. I believe you're allowed 500 characters here, which is actually quite a bit. Is it 500?
Yes.
I think, yeah. Okay.
I'm not sure. I know that well, with Twitter it's 280, but didn't they increase it? I know originally it was 280, but something tells me they expanded, but I don't know.
It was 160 and then went to 280.
Right. Okay. I think it's still at 280, and then you can link threads together. So now the thing that they've done with threads is that you start, it lets you know this is what you get but you can have infinite stories and thread things together. So it makes it possible and easy for you to have longer thoughts and longer conversations because of this. It almost reminds me, if you think about, remember the early days of Anchor, which actually is not
Yes.
Anchor anymore. It is now just Spotify within Spotify podcasts.
Yeah.
So they fully absorbed it. So the early days of Anchor, they were these long threads of audio, which you could reply back to people. You would start a conversation piece and reply back to people. It kind of feels like that. And I think people that love that kind of call and response, I call it, will really gravitate towards this. Now, is it going to be the pretty shiny thing on the block forever? It only remains to be seen, but this happens every time. It happened big time with Clubhouse. Remember how everybody was like, somebody even called me, a soror even called me and said, "Girl, are you on Clubhouse? You need to
Right.
be there because you can make some money." I had all these. I mean, people were letting me know, and there was this FOMO to the point of, if you did not, because remember, it was only for iPhone before.
Yes. Yeah.
iOS.
Yes.
If you were Android, terrible to be you. People were actually like, okay, what can I do to get on? How can I get on? Because there was such FOMO. And really, honestly, not that things were not done there. Actually, the reason I'm on Gospel 107 is because of Clubhouse, because somebody heard me on Clubhouse. So that
Yes. Yes.
did end up being fruitful. But I think for some people, there were promises unfulfilled, but they're unfulfilled because you actually have to do the work. It is not a
Yeah.
panacea. It is not a
Exactly.
magic crystal that you can hold and wave to the sky and will magically get you opportunity. You have to do the work. So with any platform you're on, you can leverage it. You just must do the
The
work.
work.
The work.
Okay, let's go back to some of the comments here on the show. Fitness IQ is all in a mid timeline. Christopher Lawrence rehashing from Friday saying no more free events.
All right.
Opal Inspired goes, never really a Twitter fan. As someone thinking about an Instagram account, Threads is a smart move. Move two birds with one stone. She also says, thanks, Dr. Tachi. Also, we'll check out the others. And then Christopher Lawrence has this question: do people still utilize Clubhouse?
They do. They do. There, but it's a very specific. It feels these days like it's very niche. That the people who are there that have formed communities, because Clubhouse has gone all now to, rather than just having rooms, they've really gone to houses now, and they were pushing the houses thing. So basically like clubs, but now they call it houses. So it reminds me of fashion, the house of such and such, right?
Yes.
Or the ballroom scene in New York City with their different houses. That's what it reminds me of. So people still do use it. I'm on there for very specific reasons, because there's a conversation I partake in on Wednesday. And then my podcast partner, Kevin, he does some things that I like to support. And that's generally it. I'm not looking for new things on Clubhouse necessarily, because I don't know. Shininess wears off eventually. And unless you have a buffing cloth to make it shiny and new again, meaning infusing new content, new things there, people very easily lose interest. You have to stay new.
Yeah, I haven't been on Clubhouse for a long time. It just got to a point where there was a room that was happening every Tuesday night that I was invited to be one of the moderators. And then after a while, the moderators they couldn't keep up with consistent. Everyone had lives and things, and it died off. For me, I go where I get the most return on investment. This is where I get my ROI doing this sort of stuff. And this is where I can monetize on different channels, not just this, but other things that I do. This is my strength zone. So I work on my strength zone, and that's it. The Threads thing, like I said, I'm not freaking out because I'm not on it actively right now. I've got to think about how. Yeah, and not only that, we have this station in Toronto called City Pulse, City 24, and their motto is they're everywhere. Well, I can't be everywhere, right? And I don't want to be. I don't want to be everywhere as a content creator. So, it's going to be interesting to see how long when the shininess wears off, because again, the hype is real right now and everyone's jumping in, and it's funny because the people that are following me, when I make my decision of what type of content, I don't think they're going to jump on
Well,
with me.
and that's okay, because you
Yeah.
will find your audience there. And here's the thing as well, that I think we're forgetting that uh, many of the people that are jumping on now are Instagram users, but they weren't
Yes.
necessarily Twitter users. Twitter is a very specific way of sharing content. Like I said, it's microblogging. If that
Mhm.
is not your thing to begin with, you probably won't continue with it past the shininess of this. So for example, if you were I enjoyed Twitter, and what I did, I used it basically for updates and things of what's happening. If I was live in an event, I remember one year I was an ambassador for NAPI, the National Association of Television Program Executives, and
Yep.
I part of our thing was to post to social. My thing was, up next at NatP, such and such as I love doing that stuff. I love live reporting. That was my thing.
Yes.
So
Right,
I'm
right.
like, I can see myself doing the same thing over on Threads, because it's an extension of what I already do. But if you don't already do that, it may not be for you. Like somebody, people that journal all the time, there are people that love to journal. I can't stand it. That's not my thing.
Yep.
People
Mhm.
are like, somebody bought me a journal one time, and I was like, oh, thank you. It is still sitting fallow till today. It's a beautiful leather, but I don't journal. It took all my energy. When in college, sometimes a professor would require a journal. I was like, oh, this is a hoax. So it would be like
Yes.
probably the week before that I would fill in everything we were supposed to fill in, because I am not a natural journaler. That is not my thing. Yes, I'm a journalist, but as far as doing a daily I don't. I don't. Maybe that's
this
not a
is
good
this
thing,
is
but I don't.
yeah,
Mhm.
I think I can say with Dr. Tachi, this is our strength zone. Doing it, this is our strength zone. Doing this, I'll be honest, writing is not my strength zone. I'll tell
That's
you that. Like, if and when I write a book, I'm gonna get someone to do it for you. I'll make it very easy. I'm not. This is my strength zone.
Yeah, this is definitely my strength zone, but okay, I have to say I'm an excellent writer. I can write my way. I can write. If that's one
Mhm.
thing I could do, I could write. Do I want to do it all the time? No, because it takes time. I can pop out um, videos very quickly, very
Yeah,
easily, even with
yeah.
editing. It's still, I can still do it relatively quickly. But with writing, I have to sit and think for a moment and get my things together. And then
Yes.
I'm always going back and no, 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 no. Let's say it this way. So there's that rewriting process, which is why I could never be part of a writing room, a writer's room for television or whatever, because I don't want to do any rewrites. No, the episode stands as it is. Same
Yeah, just
ending.
let it
I
run.
don't
Just
want to
let it
do any
run.
rewrite. So
Right.
that's not for me.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to ask, are you finding that there's any fatigue with AI writing? Like if you're seeing people post content, and do you try to decipher if it's an AI written thing besides a person's just pure thoughts? Or is it kind of just it doesn't matter as long as it's good content?
You mean people being fatigued of content written by AI? Is or
Yeah, is it something that is in the back of your mind? Like when you read somebody's post, if it's like sometimes you can note, like I can notice if it's AI, and then I'm like,
yeah.
it kind of feels like did they put enough effort? I don't know. I start to try and decipher if people are using AI now. I see that top of mind.
Yeah, well, it's easy enough to tell if someone is using AI.
Mhm.
If all of a sudden they start to write like Shakespeare, and before they sound like
Like
sideshow
easy
Bob,
there.
um, yeah, it's very easy to tell, bruh,
uh,
this is not you. We know this, but I don't really have a problem with it when it comes to day-to-day things like writing captions for social media, etc.
mm,
Go in there and change it so that it sounds like you or some semblance of you, but that's a great place to start. I
mm,
think where the concern is number one, if I'm paying money for something and you've claimed to be an expert and it sounds AI-ish, I don't know that you really know this and I need more proof. Number two, as a professor, I'm looking for this type of thing. If I see the way you write normally and just normal responses, and then all of a sudden you have this wonderful yeah, then I'm a little bit concerned because I need you to do your own work. So I think there are very specific cases where it doesn't matter whether or not AI has helped you a little bit. I think it's okay. But when it comes to things like, don't be writing your med school exams with Chat GPT or whatever. I need to know what to
All
do
right.
specifically.
Okay, we're going to end it off on IG right now. Want to thank everyone who jumped in on IG live to watch the Morning Vibe live on July 10th. And as always, I want to say, if you want to catch the full conversation live or the repeat, go to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, watch it, share it, subscribe, etc. As always, remember to give yourself grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Okay, let's pivot a little bit. We're going to have another conversation topic here. For those who may or may not know, there was something called Essence Fest recently.
How did the Gala King miss this?
You're slipping, Gala King. You're slipping.
What? You're supposed to keep me informed. What's going on?
So, well, you know what? I'll let Dr. Tachi give background on this, and then some of the interesting pop culture madness that's been going on because of one or two things there. So, Dr. Tachi, the digital floor is yours.
So if you don't know, Essence Fest or Essence Festival of Culture started, I want to say in the 90s. It was like 97 or something to that effect. So it's been going for a few years, and it is put on by Essence Magazine, right? Or the company that does Essence Magazine. And it was really a way, and Essence is a magazine based in the US that is for the primary audience is women, Black women in particular, and it is culture, it is lifestyle, it is beauty, it's all fashion, it's all of those things. It's current topics, right? It's all of those things. And Susan Taylor, I'm sure you've all seen Susan Taylor. She was the founder and editor in chief of Essence Magazine, and continues to be involved. Though, and by the way, Dr. Vibe, she is a soror. She is a member of Delta Sigma Theta. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, just so you know. But
yes.
It has been the premier place for Black women's conversations in print since the 70s when it started, right? So late 70s, I want to say. Mid to late 70s. So they started doing this Essence Festival of Culture. And initially it was very focused on music. And now it has expanded to all realms within Black life, right? So that happens every year in New Orleans at the I believe it was is it the convention center? I believe it's the convention center.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it happens there. And this year was the first year that I believe they were back last year in some capacity. And the year before that, I remember they did it, but it was all virtual. So it was actually kind of cool because, you get to attend. Now, the good thing is it's free. You just have to get there. So the Essence Festival of Culture is free. You can go in to the convention center free. There are events that cost, obviously, the big concerts. And this year, like last year, this is the second year that Essence Fest has teamed up with Hulu, and Hulu was the exclusive streaming partner of Essence Fest. So they did the primetime show. So all of the things starting from 7 o'clock on, any panels, any concerts, any performances, you were able to catch on Hulu, which was great because I'm like, you don't feel like obviously you're not there in the thick of things, but you don't feel like you miss performances. Last year, that's how I caught Janet Jackson, and I've never seen her actually perform a whole show, and it was wonderful. So this year there were a lot of different headliners. This is the 50th anniversary of hip hop, if you are not aware.
Yes. Right.
1973 in the Bronx, a back to school party. DJ Kool Herc, who happens to be Jamaican, was was basically the founder of hip hop, and we give him all props for and in fact hip hop in general. Big Daddy Kane.
Eric B and Rakim.
Yeah, all you have to do is go through, and large majority of them have Caribbean roots.
Yes.
Right, right.
Yes.
Large majority of them. So there
Yes.
is Caribbean culture is intertwined in hip hop culture, and I think it's wonderful.
Absolutely.
So I say that to say that they celebrated hip hop culture because it was the 50th. So they had one night that it was like a lot of the male hip hop artists that were there, the old school male hip hop artists. Then it was the women. For example, Eve was there. She killed it. A whole lot of people. Just wonderful. Also, Missy Elliott's show. If you did not catch Missy Elliott's show was phenomenal. Phenomenal. She already has this Afrofuturistic way of, and she'd always been
True. Yeah,
Afrofuturism
yeah.
before they even said what Afrofuturism really was. She had always been in that realm. She actually came in a spaceship. Okay, I mean, it was, and left in a spaceship. It was wonderful,
Yes.
projected like a holographic spaceship. So that was a lot of what happened, and including the panels, etc. So that's the background, a long background, but that's the background. So Dr. Vibe, I think you want to go in some trajectory of what happened.
Oh, well, there's a lot of
Uh-oh.
things, but I got to catch up on some conversations here. So, Fitness IQ says, yes, Essenfest. And she just says, I love to go. Then she says, I lie. And then free 99 is my favorite word. Terry Nicholson. Hey, Terry. She says she watched it on Hulu. Hulu. She says,
Yes.
Adolfina says, great show. You're all good to see you, Dr. Tachi. Laura Key from Portugal is in the house. Hello, fam. And she says, Missy has
Okay.
always set it off. I just adore her true talent.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, of course, for you know, what is it when we Melanie people do things like this? There's always some controversy.
Yeah, why not?
So,
Why else do we exist?
so
Oh
part of
no.
one of the controversies I heard, and I'm going to bring it. Hopefully, I think I found the story was the performance by Janelle Monáe and also by Megan Thee Stallion. So Janelle Monáe during her performance did the purposeful, not the not the accidental breast reveal. So many years ago, remember people
Okay, the
Janet Jackson
Janet
was doing a
Jackson.
performance, and it was say it was accidental when Justin Timberlake was on the stage, but Janelle Monáe didn't. It wasn't actually. She pulled it out, and I think it's a lyric in one of her songs mentioning breast.
Oh,
She showed her breast, and
Well, it was
so that
strategically covered.
yes, and then so then this started some controversy. India Irie got in saying, and now I'm trying to look this up while we're chatting, but basically India Irie said, this is not part of culture. It's a misrepresentation of women. We're sexualizing Black women in music. And then she got assaulted on social media
what?
about her comments. So, Dr. Tachi, fill in some gaps that I'm probably missing here on this.
No, I
Oh
think you've
man.
got all the gaps filled in. It felt like, well, number one, it felt like with the Janelle Monae performance, I was like, oh, there's a lot of underboob going on here. What's happening? Um, it felt like because she kept tugging at the top, and it wasn't. It was a super cute, kind of like a bikini top, and she had on some shorts, like some hip hugger shorts with it. It was super cute, but it felt like she wasn't taped in enough. It felt like she was, so there was this constant tugging, and it was partially wardrobe malfunction and maybe partially intentional. That's what it felt like. So
Mm.
yeah, that's what it was. So to the comments of sexualizing culture, sexualizing women, everyone has their different views on this.
Yeah.
Whereas I am not a fan, because then we'll get to Miss Meg the Stallion. I am not necessarily a fan of that. It's not something I'm going to do myself, but I'm also not in the habit of policing women's agency if that's what you feel you want your message to be. That's not my fight to take up. So while that's not something I want to do, it's not something that, I think it can be about the music, and you don't have to make it about sexualization at all. But for Janelle Monáe, she has this whole thing this whole platform called Pleasure, basically, and that is her thing. And it's less for her about sexualizing than it is about the agency to express what she wants, how she wants, and the way she chooses to do it without patriarchy telling her that it's wrong and patriarchy adjacent folks telling her that it's wrong. Okay, so for her, that's what I'm seeing. But on the other side of this, yes, I see that we are beyond our bodies. We are more than our bodies. And I don't think we have to use them in order to be accepted. We are luxury in and of ourselves. We don't need to do anything else to convince folks. We don't need a sign saying, look, we're great, because we are. So I don't think that's necessary. So I agree with India Ari, but I also agree with Janelle Monáe's right to express what she does.
Okay.
And as long as it's
Let's-
within the confines of the festival and they're okay with it. Go ahead. Sorry.
Bless you, Ryan. Also, let's catch up on the comments. Terry says, hello, everyone. Lala goes, LOL, sure, why not? We have to keep them talking. Guess on my comment out, we always have to do something controversial. Shelly Champion goes, the performances of these beautiful, empowered Black women would not be controversial if society stopped policing Black women's bodies. Lala says, I actually agree with India. I love how she expressed it so eloquently. We're going to show her what she said in a moment. What bothers me is Monet went this direction when she didn't have to. Megan, I'm not surprised. Not for me. Also, Laura says that the true issue is you only get the buzz if you do things like they are focusing on. And then Shelley says, I wish there was more controversy about the lyrics in the music that disrespect and promote violence against women. All right. So let's bring up, I'm going to bring up an article which basically talks about what India said. So let's go to it. We're going to bring it up here. Okay, let's see if we can get the transition happening here. Come on, come on, come on. Oh, there we go. And let me take off the lower third here. Okay. A little slow this morning. So we're going to go. So I'm just going to highlight it. It says here, India Arie sparked off some debate on social media this week after she criticized a video of people dancing on stage at the 2023 Essence Music Festival in New Orleans. On Monday, this is a week ago, the neo soul singer commented on a video posted by official Instagram account for Essence that showed people twerking on stage during Megan Thee Stallion's headlining performance. The clip showed the singer, Janelle Monáe, cheering on the performers from the side of the stage. This is what India Arie said, quote, the issue is what is context. Humanity does everything, but does everyone belong in a stage? But does this everything belong in a stage? No, she wrote, quote, is everything for kids? No. Is everything for everybody? No. So when we as a culture make something like this mainstream, it shows a lack of direction and discernment. She says, my record speaks for itself. So interesting. Some people agreed with India and some didn't. So I'm not going to go. Someone said, I find it ironic that India Arie is judging women after making so many songs about being accepted for who you are. LOL. So this has caused a lot of back and forth. Another person said, India Arie made a song that literally said not to judge women regardless of what they wear and do, but she goes on ahead and does the complete opposite. LMAO. Another person says India Arie is right. You all know it though. You all knew it though. Attacking her character, words, or actions won't change our reality. Choice feminism and hypersexuality has our community and culture in a chokehold that will negatively affect the next two generations. But most people can't see past next week. So I'll just leave it at that. Ryan, do you have any comments?
I find it interesting when we try to defend, and it's going to sound so bad because when women act in a certain way, because it's one thing when men sexualize women, but then when women like play into it, it makes people that want to sexualize them, it gives them a pass. And so now a man, so I'll use myself. When I was in high school and early adultish, you would go to clubs and you would identify like who is more out there, like sexualized than those that are prim and proper. So it's like, who would you go and approach? You wouldn't go and approach a woman in the same way if she's in a library than if she's up on stage, half naked, dancing and twerking. So this is like, we have to understand the uniforms that we wear. So if we're gonna wear a certain uniform, we're gonna get treated a certain way. And this is where I think NDRE is saying, is like, if this is what's normal now, myself having a daughter, seeing women on stage dancing in a certain way, do I want her to mimic that? Or do I want her to mimic like something like NDRE, who says like, listen, I'm not my hair, I'm good in my brown skin. I don't think she was saying that, oh, because I want to be myself, that means we have to be super sexual. And that's something I agree with. I agree that being yourself and being fluid and, wanting to have a good time is fine, but now you have to accept that that's the brand that you've chosen. And again, I'm a male. I'm not trying to tell women what to do. I'm just saying this is what I experienced. So
So let's go back to some comments here. Alafina says, I love the freedom of expression on both parts. Shell says, why not have opposing views and differences of opinions? No need for conflict. Live and let live. Alafina says, well said, India. She's simply speaking on professionalism at work. Fitness IQ goes, us Jamaicans don't twerk. No comment. Ray says, women are the yardstick by which society are measured. Our Black women have a responsibility to self and all. Shelley says, we'll get to, let me just get to Shelley's. We need to unlearn the idea that women is deemed unworthy because it's how she chooses to present. Your comments are problematic, Ryan. So first, let's go to Dr. Tachi. You wanted to say something.
Yeah. So, Ryan, I think everyone has the right to believe what they want to believe, but we have to understand where those beliefs come from. Often those beliefs are ingrained by a society which often is patriarchal and causes you to believe that this is the way one thing should be, that this is the role that women are ascribed, and this is the role that men are ascribed. Simply because a woman chooses to express herself in one way doesn't mean that she has chosen a path and thus should be treated in that way. That's the same excuse people use when it comes to rape. Well, why were you dressed that way? It's the same thing. So you have to be very careful in the way in which things are phrased. And I understand you can only approach the world from your standpoint. That's standpoint theory. You can only see the world through your experiences. I understand that. But and this is another thing. There's too much put on the shoulder of women. Yeah, I understand we have been the cornerstone of society, but is that our fault? Not necessarily. I do understand that I'm one that likes to for people to represent women or Black women well, because it's also a reflection on me. But I also understand I'm an individual, and so to put the weight of the world, and this is what happens with Black women all the time. We're expected to do this. We're expected to do that. We have to be upstanding. We have to be upstanding citizens. We have to also carry the family. We also should be. Let's stop that. Let's stop the sacrificial martyrdom of women, particularly Black women, and the role expectations of what they play. Stop putting that on our shoulders. It's too much. And then you wonder why some Black women seem, quote, angry, because you give us all of this to deal with and there is no reprieve. We are constantly being held up as do we do this with any other women? Are any other group of women held up as the example for the entire? No, it's only us, and it's unfair. And that's why I'm like, you know what? If you feel that Black women or women should not be presenting themselves this way in the RE, you're free to feel that. That's fine. Janelle Monáe, because of your stance on pleasure and what you feel representation is and agency, do what you do. But what we can't stand for is people defining how we should carry ourselves and who we should be. We can't do that, not from outside the code. And honestly, it needs to be women doing that. Men should not be telling us how and where and what. No, because you're not a woman.
Okay, I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say that's why I think it's so important, because us that have been indoctrinated, and myself, I listened back to the music that I was listening to when I was a teenager and a young adult, and you realized how programmed you become to now pursue sex and sexualize women. And so that's where I usually stay very quiet on these things, because I don't want to influence like how women portray themselves. But we have to also understand what men are thinking. So if men are seeing certain things and we've been conditioned a certain way, it creates bad consequences.
That's
And
for
that's
you to
where
change, though. That's not my problem.
valid.
Okay.
That's for you to change.
Before we get to the comments, I'm gonna put in
Yeah.
an interesting fact here.
Mhm.
The message that's portrayed is not controlled by people, on most of the time by people who look like us.
Right.
So that's a
That's the
whole
big
other
thing.
part of the
Yeah.
conversation. That's a
Yeah.
whole other thing, right? So remember that what you're seeing on the outside is made by decisions higher up, and a lot of times by people who do not look like us.
Exactly. It
I'll
is.
leave.
It is. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It's not as simple, it is not
No, it's
very
not a
cut and
simple
dry.
argument.
It is so complex. So just on this level that we're talking about here, we're talking about self-agency, right? But then we look at that and media and different factions using that quote self-agency, or exploiting that and making that the norm. That's not right either, right? So
No.
as Dr. Vibe said, there are people that are making decisions in higher places that we don't have control over. To me, that's the bigger issue and the bigger problem. So I think we also have to be very aware of the messages that we listen to. We have to be aware of it's critical thinking skills, but it's also media literacy, right? And discerning for yourself what these are, and doing, most people don't want to do the research to understand, okay, well, why is this the case? Maybe I don't agree, that's fine, but let's separate that, your right to do whatever, with my right to protect mine from that. And I think people don't do enough research to understand either side.
Okay, let's get to the comments. We're in bonus time. Dr. Tachi, you have a few more minutes because lots of people are watching this live. So,
Yeah.
okay, so let's go to some comments here. Fitness IQ says, yes, Bun Society's mind. And then she also says, preach, Dr. Tachi. Christopher Lawrence says, I wonder if this happened for more, quote, record sales, unquote, or signs of empowerment. Good question. Shelly says, the last time I checked, Black women's nipples and twerking and clothing choices are not responsible for some of the issues we are facing in the Black community. That's a whole other conversation in itself. Ray says, it's interesting to see the new version of Janelle Monáe. Yes, and it's interesting. Before we went live on Saturday, Jill Jones has a lot of insight on Janelle Monáe that she knows about, but that's a whole other conversation, because definitely she's different now than she was 5-10 years ago. Ray says, but it's only it isn't only the Black women. Every society holds their women to a higher standard, so why shouldn't we? Oh, we got from fire going on here. Opal Inspire goes, speak, Dr. Tachi. Ryan, she says, Ryan, I appreciate your insights. Sophia says, loved watching Essen Fest. And Shelly says, Ryan, that means you need to unlearn your way of thinking, understand how these perspectives are rooted in patriarchy, sexism, and anti-Blackness. Wow, we got whole...
Hey, and Dr. Tachi, I fully want to give you the platform, but just to that quick comment, it took a lot for me to unlearn what I experienced in high school. I've been married now for going on 14, 15 years with the same woman for over 22 years. If a person that knows me from high school sees me now, and I remember I went to a barbecue and I introduced my wife to, actually she was my fiance at the time, to a friend from high school. And he said, Ryan is what? He said, Ryan who? About to marry who? And I had to be like, nice to meet you, and we gotta go. Because it's not easy, but it can be done. So I'm not here saying like, oh, because they're twerking on stage, now Ryan's gonna jump on stage and start to try and get these women. It's like, no, we definitely have the ability to unlearn what we've been indoctrinated with. I would say I'm living proof of that. And now is to say, is this, my real question is this what women want? If women want to express themselves in this way, then by all means, that's great, but we have to know the path that we're on. So if the path is leading us somewhere that we don't want, like if Essence Fence starts to become like Freaknik, is that what we want? Or do we want it tracking somewhere else? But if this is what they want, like, again, Ryan is in no position to tell women what to do, but we do need to have the insight of what people observing are now, the way they're interpreting it.
I'll just come in here. Shelly also says, thank you for your education, Dr. Tachi. Lala says this, but how Janelle going from wearing black and white all the dog on time, honoring Black History's employment to let's show those boobs, it's a stretch.
Okay.
Fitness IQ says, eyes. Shelly says, just to be clear, you're not alone in the need to unlearn, Ryan. Shelly says, we want to express our ways any way we want. And then Fitness IQ goes, Shooks, we can have a snippet of Kiki. Oh, that's a whole other conversation. Then we won't go there. Ray says, great points, Ryan. I share your sentiments 100%. The only thing I'll just add here, because I moderate a lot, is that we have to look at the long-term implications. We're in a society that we're just thinking about the moment, the immediate, but the long-term implications. Because I listened to some commentary, and I heard a number of parents with their kids walked out of Janelle Monáe's performance. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Were they there
for Megan Thee Stallions?
Yeah, well, that's it. Did they? So that's the thing. We have to take a look at how our actions are impacting the next generations. Not only the people who are looking at us out, but also the next generations.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And here's the thing. I'm not disagreeing with everyone. I think everybody's point of view is valid. But going back to what Ray said in terms of other women, nobody is saying that other women are not held to higher standards. But other women in other ethnic groups are not held to carrying the entire race the way we are. We're the only ones. And part of that is with our behavior and monitoring how we behave to make sure it uplifts the race at all times. Because if you think about it, when the foot is reversed, and this is not to point fingers, but when the shoe is reversed, if something happens where, okay, for example, a Black male is put in prison or put in jail, they did something, but not to the extent of what it is. Everybody marches and everybody says how wrong it is. Your boob makes a mistake and comes out, I'm just saying, and now we're all done for and we're doomed. It is a huge double standard that we have to stop. Why are we the only ones responsible for uplifting? It feels like the onus is on Black women all the time, and that's why I'm saying stop it. Everybody has to do the work.
Well, so here's another dynamic too, and this. We have to do a part 2. Now, maybe we should have Dr. Tachi co-hosting all our conversations here, but let's get to some more comments. Ryan, if you're going to mention Freaknik, please talk about the sexual assaults. Women are not responsible for these actions of men. Fitness IQ Cam says, I want to be able to express myself without being judged. What planet are you living on? You're going to be judged no matter what. So it's very difficult not to be judged. Laura goes, it's not for the kids. There should be a warning that those types of performances are happening. Adults, okay, if they can choose, but shocking us and our kids are there. Nah, the mama bear is coming out now, Lord. Aldafina goes, yes, this topic reflects a generational shift. And then Ray says, but we can't express ourselves any way we want. Society has rules and guidelines. Black women want to live their lives by their rules. Dangerous road. Father, brother, sister, husband, and girl dad.
Okay, so I hear the onus and the finger being pointed at Black women. And really, honestly, it's a very dangerous path to go down when you see, and I'm not saying this is what you're saying, but when people see all the problems with the Black community being because Black women are twerking, my dear, there were problems well before that, and they were not all about Black women. So let's not pretend like that is a thing. Again, this is your only, can only come at things from your standpoint, and it does take a lot to unlearn. And maybe it's because I'm a communication professor. Media, yes, but human communication also. And I look at all of these, and I went to a Black college to know this. So I'm looking at all of this through this filter and trying to be an unobtrusive observer to see this. It's these types of comments, even though they're well-meaning, that continue to perpetuate these things against women, and it leads to violence against women. And I'm not saying that you're being violent, but that's that same thought process. And I need for people to realize and just sit back and think that what I'm saying doesn't really sound a whole lot different from X, from people making excuses for why this happens to women because of how they're dressed. It doesn't see, because it's making it their fault. So none of this is our fault. The fact that you can't control yourself is not our fault. The fact that you cannot, that you have been indoctrinated, we've all been indoctrinated, right? And I'm not even just blaming men, because there are men adjacent people, meaning women, who co-sign on the foolishness as well. So
it's interesting you bring up that point. So this is fire this morning. So Sophia says, big up Janelle Monáe. It's a freedom of expression. Janelle is in a new space and place in her music. People need to stop judging. Black women's bodies are policed all the time and shamed. Why? Laura says, I just watched a video of all not white women twerking in Texas. I don't care what color you are. If you're performing on a platform that's going to have young eyes, it's a no for me.
I agree.
Ray, this is good. No, Dr. Tachi, I'm not pointing my finger at Black women. I take full responsibility for my behavior. I don't have anything to unlearn. It was raised by 3 generations of strong. I was raised by 3 generations of strong Black women. And then Sophia says, and it's our community to jump out first to shame us and police us.
And you know what? That's not Ray. That's not a disrespect to being raised by 3 strong Black women. But it doesn't mean that you don't have anything to unlearn. And I'm not insinuating that, but because somebody is like, I've heard that before. People are like, oh, well, I was raised by all women, but that doesn't mean that you don't have anything to learn. Yeah, right? That there's nothing further that we have.
So here's
learn.
an interesting question. Do Black women have to unlearn some things about Black men?
Yeah. That's all of us. We all have some unlearning to do, because we've all been indoctrinated by the same system. And that's not for you all to make sure that we unlearn it, that we have to do the work. We're the ones that have to do the work to unlearn any things that the fact that all of you all are trifling, the fact that there are things that, and even if in some cases there are things that appear to be true on both sides, we have to go in and understand, okay, where does this come from? I understand where it comes from. I understand why you're doing this, but I'm not excusing it, right? So you can understand where something, a behavior or a thought process comes from without excusing it. So yes, I think we all have unlearning to do about each other. I think though, because of the way society is set up, this society in particular, as patriarchal, there are a lot of fallacies about Black women that have been perpetuated. And it's hard, because if you don't have the very people you think should be on your side, sometimes are not. And you've already got all of society calling you ugly, calling you useless. This is why we overcompensate. We are the most educated group in the United States right now, the most Black women, because we constantly have to overcompensate for being told that we're less than, and we don't need it from Black men too. You understand what I'm trying to say? We don't need it from you too. The very people that are supposed to be on our side and in our corner, we need you to support. The same blind support we give you all much of the time, we need that too, and vice versa. Go ahead.
Okay, more comments. Adafina says this trend of historic scapegoats goes as far back as the reputation of Cleopatra. It's interesting that women can walk around topless in some societies without issues faced here in the West. Shelley Champion says, We have people exposing kids to domestic violence, conflict, dysfunctional family dynamics that leaves lasting trauma, not a Black woman's nipple or nudity. Fitness IQ says we both have unlearning to do. Ray says I was also raised by a strong black man. At a time we married at an 80% rate. Today we have this new concept of independent women, which is damaging our future. You're gonna get in trouble on this one. Roger
I don't even
Dundas.
have to say anything. You see the
Okay.
comment.
Roger Dundas says men are the issue, not women. Hayden Morrison goes, good morning. Apologies for joining late to this desperately needed discussion. We're going to have a part 2 of this. Don't worry. Laura says, or many parts. Laura Key goes, I grew up in the country where I was surrounded by strong Black women. They were my teachers. And if I did something wrong, they came all together to teach you what I needed to know. Not a bad thing. Shelley says, what harm is going to come to young people if they see a nipple? And then Roger says, and kids are seeing worse on TikTok and YouTube.
And I'm not saying that it should be out there for nudity to know. And I agree with Laura. You are the parent. You make that initial decision for your child of what you want them to be exposed to. And if that's not what you want, yes, we should not enforce that upon them. Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think, okay, so this whole thing, I heard, the nudity thing and whatever, that's definitely a Western concept. And we have been taught that the West is the best. And so we internalize those Western concepts, and it colors the way we think about what is proper and improper. Most of what we think is proper and improper is predicated upon Western ideals. Now, and I'm not saying all Western ideals are wrong, but I think we have to understand where that comes from when we're doing that. It's like, as soon as you say, oh, wow, that came from Europe somewhere. Oh, wow. That's not us saying that, right? And that doesn't mean that it's not proper or whatever, but who determines what is proper? Is it the West? Is it Western ideals? Is it non-melanated people? In which case, and we're all guilty of this. We're all guilty of this. And I don't think anybody is wrong here. You deserve to feel the way you feel. I think it's okay. But I think, again, I'm going to say this, it is very dangerous when you blame one group at scapegoating. When you blame one group for the ills of society or the ills, somebody just put a comment that blamed us for everything that is wrong in Black society. Impossible. Impossible. That doesn't, no.
Okay.
Because we could turn around and say the same thing about Black men in terms of behaviors and things, but it's not one piece of the puzzle. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, Aldefina says this convo definitely needs a part 2. Yeah, don't worry. There's gonna be a part 2. Don't worry about that. Christopher Lawrence goes, it's getting hot in here. Yes. Roger says, my fear with my daughter wearing certain clothes is getting unwanted negative attention from male predators.
Yeah.
And then Shelley says, I struggle to understand backlash against, quote, independent women, unquote. Women who are often independent because of lack of compatible options for others. And someone choose not to settle like many of our elders did. Yes. That's a whole other conversation too. Is that Hayden goes, FYI, it's this Western culture that told the world that the storks bring babies. This AI is a sick culture. Ray says, having being exposed to African, Indian, and Chinese arts and culture from 6 years old, my issue isn't nudity. My issue is all the other behaviors that have stifled our growth for Black men and Black women. Mm-hmm. So Sophia says, yes, Dr. Tachi. Laura C says, great debate. I love all the views being shared. And then we've got Fitness IQ says, best bet is to teach her what to expect young boys do. There you go.
But that's the thing. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Dr. Tachi. Go ahead.
Yes, no, you're right. But why should that be an expectation of young boys? The expectation is that young boys will misbehave. Young boys are over-sexualized. This is what young boys do, and you have to protect yourself again. No, No, because if you raise young boys right to be respectful of all people, women, etc., everybody, this won't be a problem. If you teach your child early, look, this is what's being taught in the media, but this is actually the way that one should behave, or the way we believe one should behave. If you arm your child with what is right in the beginning, you won't have to protect your little girls or whoever against predatory boys. See, so the problem is not the young girls or whoever else. It's the indoctrination by society of these young boys and people thinking, but that's just what they do. It's not what they do if they're raised right. It is not what they do if they're raised right.
Okay.
And that's where
Go
I
ahead.
would ask, like, the question that I would ask is, these actions, so Janelle Monáe, is she doing it for attention or she's doing it for expression? Because if we're showing our children that this is how you get attention, that's where I would say is not a good reason.
Okay.
If we're doing it to show that you can be you and we live in a world that you're not going to be assaulted or, like, sexualized, that to me is ambitious. But if that's the intent, that to me, it's a good path to be on, because we do want, or I want my daughter to know that she can express herself and not be a victim because of it.
Yeah.
So now but we also have to ask, when you act a certain way, who are you attracting? Because if a man sees a woman act that way, like, what type of men are going to approach her? So for my daughter is to say, if you act a certain way, certain men are going to approach you. And are those the men that you want to be with or get married and, have a life with? Like, our actions attract certain personalities. So it's like, who do we want to attract, and what actions would attract them would be, I would say, the question to this self-expression,
Okay.
So you have to levy. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to catch it because I'll get too far behind on comments, so I have to jump in every once in a while. So Christopher Lawrence goes, great point, Ray. Kate goes, go off, Dr. Tachi. Yes. Ray says, men don't want independent women. They want intelligent women. Relationships are based on codependency. Hayden says, we need to learn and grow together to be together. Fitness IQ Cam says, true, Dr. Tachi, but if all boys are raised right, it's up to us to prepare our children. Shelley says, why assume it's attention seeking? The point is, Black women want to be ourselves.
Right. That was a question. So it's to say, okay. Which one is it?
Ray says, spot on, Ryan. Hollywood is 95% attention seeking. They can't be out of yardstick. Christopher says, it would be awesome to ask Janae why this took place, or is this selfish for me to say this? Shelley says, there's so much unlearning to do. Ryan and all, instead of policing women, raise boys to not, I don't know, as actual women. I don't understand. Oh,
probably sexualized.
I don't get of women.
Sexualized women.
Okay, assault women. She's supposed to say assault women. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to just jump in a bit here, and we're not going to go too much long because we all have lives to lead, and we're going to do a part 2. One other thing I'm going to suggest, I did a conversation with Dr. Alicia Watkins. I put it in the chat for everybody a few months ago, called Black Women, Black History, Black Women, Black Future. And during that conversation, it's almost like a lecture. She shared the history of the portrayal of the Black woman.
Okay.
I'm going to highly recommend everybody watch, because about 15 minutes into it, I said, Dr. Alicia Watkins, you need to take this on tour and have people to watch this. It was incredible. And she breaks it down that there's 4 stereotypes of Black women in today's society.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you, I need you to, anyone who's watching this live or replay, I highly suggest you watch that conversation, because one of the most enlightening conversations I was ever a part of on this platform, because it showed me stuff that I didn't know, and I said, I get it.
You should have the Catherine or Caitlin, sorry, put that link into the show notes, the comments.
Well, I can put the link in. Yeah, I'll put in the show notes. Yeah. I can certainly do that, because it's an amazing. I may be able to do it right here and right now, but any other comments for either one of you as I think eventually have to wind this down?
Yeah. No, I know, absolutely. But this is a great conversation. I think it just shows that there is so much more work to be done in not just unlearning, but also learning. There is a lot that has been done. Again, and I will stand on the fact that much of the division, in order to control people, you need to divide them, right? And you need to divide them amongst the different things that they think. Much of this is predicated upon Western culture and Western interference. Let's say that Westernized thinking
Definitely.
interfering with what we think, and it's so interesting how quickly we are to latch on to oppressive edicts and ways of doing things because that's what we know. So there's a lot that needs to happen to unlearn those things. I think this is the first time we're talking and we're looking at agency in all types of ways, women's agency, men's agency, where Black people have a platform and the ability to say what they want about themselves, whether it's through actions or words. And we're not used to that. So when we start seeing these things, we don't know how to behave because for so long we've been used to a westernized standard of what is proper and right. Now I'll use that to go into I not Janelle Monae. I didn't really have a problem with Janelle Monae's. That you all are talking about that. Megan the Stallion was the one that was problematic for me. I It was too much for me. And as much as I'm about agency and that
Mm.
type of thing, sometimes it feels like that type of behavior goes back to the male gaze, right? And kind of aligning with what you say, Ryan. Is it being done for attention? Is it being done for whether male attention, female attention, whatever? Is that what it's being done for? Or is this actually how you truly feel and you are expressing yourself? Now, for her, we can't judge. Maybe that's how she expresses herself, but we have the right to vote with our feet and not walk. I had actually had a free trial of Hulu. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to stay right here because I'm using every bit of this free
Right.
trial. I'm not, it was not for me.
Yes.
Well, I did not like it. So the thing is, just like other, there are other ethnicities are allowed, and mostly the mainstream are allowed to express themselves in whatever way they see fit, because they also realize that while they are individuals, and while we are a collective, we're also individuals, and so we just need that same respect and consideration that everybody else has for self-expression. And you can choose, just like if you don't want to go and see a biennial at the Whitney Museum because you think it's obscene, you don't go. But you respect the artist's right to say what they have to say in that way. Because this is why the Supreme Court cannot define what obscene is. What if they haven't been able to for years? So I think we have to keep it in that context. And yeah, Megan the Stallion, yeah, something else. That was not my favorite performance. It was way too much for me. If you want to talk about over sexualization, leave poor Janelle Monae alone and look at what Megan the Stallion did. And even then, I'm not going to
Hey,
judge
that's
what she
valid.
does.
Absolutely. Ryan, any final thoughts? And just
No,
before
no.
you chat, just to chat, if you, wherever you're watching this on whatever platform, I have put the link to Dr. Alicia Watkins' sharing, or that show that we did in there. Now I just got to do something really quick, but Ryan, some final thoughts.
Really, I believe Dr. Tachi wrapped it up very well. It's about us creating our own definition for things. A lot of things have
Controlling
been
our
given to us,
narrative.
and we get indoctrinated, and then we use that conditioning to attack each other. But if we, and this is why I like these conversations, because it allows us to step out of the knee-jerk reaction and say, what is it that we're observing, and are we on the right track? And if we're not on the right track, how do we adjust? And if we are, then let's move forward because we're in a positive light. So I just love being able to kind of hear the different perspectives, and I love the comments and engagement from our audience. It's amazing. So yeah, appreciate you, Dr. Tachi.
Absolutely. So what I'm going to do is just give me a quick second here. I'm going to put it on our screen, the link for Dr. Alicia's conversation that she had with me. And this is it right here. So this is Black Women, Black History, Black Women, Black Future. There is the YouTube link. I've also put it again in the comments on whatever platform you're watching, but I thought it makes sense to also put it on screen so everyone, take a picture of it. And just to let you know, Dr. Alicia now has agreed to be on this platform, on the Dr. Vibe show once a month for the rest of the year.
Oh, wonderful.
So you're gonna and for those who don't know her, she is married to a gentleman named Boyce Watkins. So if you may have heard of him, and she is a tenured professor. She has her PhD in social work, and she's also been counseling Black couples for at least 10 to 15 years. And she's also a certified trauma specialist. So that is something that's coming to the point, and maybe we can get her on for a morning conversation, and maybe have her come in on this part two of it. Maybe we'll ask Dr. Boyce to come in too. That would be quite interesting because they have some interesting views, not always in agreement on things. So let's round up. Yeah, there's a lot, and you see I've got to do some things here, so I'm multi-purposing. So bear with me, family, as I do this one other thing because I want to make sure.
And my apologies, I do have to jump to this 10:30. So
no problem.
I'll see you in a bit.
We will see you on Friday.
All right. Well, it's good seeing you, Dr. Tachi.
Bye, Dr. Ryan. Dr. Ryan, yes, Dr. Ryan.
Gala King. Gala King. Gala King. Take care, Gala King. All right, so we are back, and let me just do some things proper here. All right, so let's see if there's any final comments. Okay, let's start with work with my producer here. Let's go to Fitnance IQ Cam saying, I love this conversation. Because I know there's been a whole bunch of things. And then she goes, me almost not under the weather after this. So we're healing her with this conversation.
Good. Good.
Roger Dundas says in certain parts of Africa, women in certain tribes don't cover their breasts and they're not molested. Think about that.
Yeah.
Christopher says workshops for our community. I would like to see how we rebuild the Black family, codependence, and self-development. Off topic. No, it's not off topic because this involves Black family. Fitness IQ goes, Dr. Tachi, you rocked it today, by the way. She always does. I don't just with today. She always does.
Thank you.
Jasmine G says, the idea of what a woman wears can attract or detract, quote, predators, unquote, is false. Women can wear a t-shirt and jeans, can still be sexually assaulted or harassed by men that they know. Ray says, I have tremendous respect for Black women. Black women have been protecting me and my ancestors since we were brought across from the Atlantic. Thanks for this conversation. Terry Nicholson says, great conversation, everyone. Yes. Let's move on down. Kate says, hopefully you're talking about Janelle Monáe about this. Her career is based on her sexuality, and I feel like you should expect that from her. Knowing she was there, kids, if there was a problem, maybe that's Megan Thee Stallion. Maybe they're talking about then. If that was a problem. Lala says, I've never been a fan of her. I think I talk about Megan Thee Stallion. Personal preference. I don't care for Cardi B either. So we're now talking about Megan Thee Stallion.
Yeah.
She said the problem was basically it was OnlyFans on television. And Elemental Note says, and hey, Dr. Vibe, Dr. Tachi, and Ryan. Shelly Champion says, Dr. Boyce is problematic. And then stop criticizing girls and women and start teaching boys and men not to assault girls and women. Okay. And then, yes, Kate, Megan Thee Stallion. All right. I think we've got everything covered here, Dr. Tachi. I didn't think you expected to be on so long today, but thanks for making the time as usual.
Oh, no. This whole morning was dedicated to Morning Vibe. So I'm totally fine. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you as always.
Going to be a little conversation about threads and Essence Fest, and it took a whole turn, but that's okay.
No, that's all good. But this, we want to have. It's important to have these conversations, and we do it in a respectful manner, and that's the most important thing. Yeah. So, there's the best way to get a hold of Dr. Tachi. What's up next for you, Dr. Tachi?
Today.
Yeah, well, within the next, with you in the next hour.
Yeah, no, I have some work to do. We're trying to get a network up, so
Yes,
we have some work to do on that. Just some other things, and of course, probably take some time just to be, drink some
please
water,
be
hydrate.
more be
Yeah,
more
be more. And I also want to say thank you to everybody who watched Ray and his fiery spirit. I love it.
You still
Can't.
have you haven't talked to him offline yet, have you?
No,
No.
I need to. Well,
Okay,
I've been busy doing other things, so
I got
I
it. I
need
got
to.
you.
I
I,
need
I
to.
got you.
I
I
need to
got you.
contact him. But no, everybody's comments were so, and that's the beauty of living in a society like this. There are terrible things about it, but the good thing is that there is the freedom to express what it is you think, which is a good thing, and then have good civil conversation about it.
Yes. Elemental Note says my other comments didn't post. I'm sorry that they didn't. Lala says I'm so excited for your network. I got my pom poms up for you.
Yay!
All right, that's fantastic. So, everyone, this is the best way to get a hold of Dr. Tachi. And again, thanks for everything and all that you do. And man, if you had time in your schedule, we want you to have as a regular co-host, but you don't have time for that, young lady. So, but if you ever do, the chair is always open.
Well, I mean, remember we talked about like a once a month thing. I'm up for that.
Yeah, well, this is what we're doing right here. So, and definitely we're going to work also and see if we can get some of these lives on Indie Soup. I'm
Yeah,
not saying, I'm just saying.
yeah.
Remember to give yourself grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. All right. And we'll talk, I'm sure, sometime today or tomorrow.
Okay.
Be well. Thank you. All right, family. Woo! That was it. That was it. And actually, when I spoke to Dr. Tachi, yes, I said, what are we going to talk about? I said, Threads and Essence Festival. And I said, I didn't, and my mind said, we don't need anything more than that. I think that was more than enough. So, look, I want to thank everyone for taking time, either watching this live or on the replay. It's appreciated, not taken for granted. First things first, you can watch replays of the Morning Vibe and the Dr. Vibe show on YouTube and Facebook. Afro-Caribbean Business Network, Facebook and YouTube, and Ryan's LinkedIn and also YouTube, Ryan Oneil Knight. Some other things coming up on this Friday show. We've got Perry Douglas talking about his article on buyblacks.com magazine, one of our wonderful, probably one of our wonderful collaboration partners. 5 Ways to Thrive in the New Economy. You need to check that out. And also, Roger Dundas, who's been coming today, will be part of it. So we got a fearsome foursome, Dr. Vibe, Ryan, Perry Douglas, Roger Dundas this Friday. Check it out. Next up, like the Dr. Vibe show on YouTube and hit the notification button. And also please like the Dr. Vibe show on Facebook and LinkedIn. Especially after today's conversation. Let's continue this conversation and other things on the Discord group. We have a Discord group where we talk about things in between conversations. And you can also tell us, what would you like us to talk about? Do you want a part 2 of this? It sounds like you do. Tell us on the Discord channel. So email me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. Tell me you want to join the Discord group of the Morning Vibe, and we'll get you going. All right. What else? If you want to advertise your business or service on the Dr. Vibe show, please email me. There's my email address. I think that's it, family. So I think there's one more comment. Let me just see. Okay, Dr. Tachi says, great convo all. Okay, so she's multi-purposing here. So let's end it off with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. God bless. Peace, well. Keep the faith. Walk good, and we will see you on Friday. But follow in between. Join the discourse group. Please, 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 please. See ya.